This question's been around since the dawn of time. This question and who is God have been the two greatest questions ever asked. Today, I will answer this fundamental and earth-shattering question. Which animation studio is best? Okay, so maybe this isn't that important of a question as who is God, but this has been debated for a while, and I'd like to give my 2 cents, looking at what each studio does best. I'll try to look at each studio as objectively as possible, not go in any particular order, and then conclude what I think is the best studio. This is, of course, my opinion, so don't leave comments about how I'm dumb and my opinion is wrong.
Hello, everybody! You all right?
Let's start with the most recent challenger to the ring, Illumination. Illumination came onto the scene with a big box office hit, Despicable Me. This was one of my favorites as a kid, and still keeps me entertained throughout. I know this is a controversial opinion, because everyone thinks that the Minions are the most widely hated thing in the world, but the first Despicable Me is honestly a good movie. If Illumination made movies like this, getting Pharrell to make the score and Steve Carell as a voice actor, this would be a respectable studio in my opinion. What have they made since? Sing? No, that's ass. Minions? Now I see why people despise these shitters. Secret Life of Pets? The most unappealing movie I've ever watched in years. Not only is the animation horrible and lifeless, but so is the story. Why couldn't you make The Secret Life of Pets be interesting? Like, they're in a fight club, or maybe they're in, like, the bowling tournament in the Big Lebowski. I don't know. Literally anything would have been better than what they did. They just come and talk to each other because they're pets, and that's their secret life. Here they go to other people's houses and just hang out. They don't need to be pets. This story is completely pointless if it doesn't have these cute pets. But just because they made, ooh, it's cute animals, then it lures in audiences. Now let's look at their commercial success.
Holy mother-forking shirt balls.
That's a lot of money. Illumination has cracked the secret code to make a successful movie. It isn't to make a movie that is so intriguing and different, critics and audiences universally enjoy it, but instead put in generic pop music, hire celebrities, put this god-awful animation on it, and have an idea that seems interesting, but delivers no actual value. I wanted more movies like Despicable Me, because they got actors who fit the bill. Steve Carell fit Gru. Vector was so interesting. Sure, this isn't a flawless movie, but it's at the very least a 6 out of 10. Now, Illumination makes soulless movies that get great commercial success while undermining the entire medium. Illumination is absolutely fantastic at making money and drawing in audiences. I can't deny that. What I can deny is that they have any substance or quality to them. If you made a Venn diagram where the 2 circles were quality and money, Illumination wouldn't have the brainpower to read the first circle and just read the second and think that every movie just needs to be as marketable as possible. Like, they made a movie about a children's book talking about how consumerism is bad and is destroying the environment. And what do? They partner with Mazda and IHOP and HP. Like, do they not see what's wrong with this? Illumination will, without a doubt, get last place in this ranking, and it's not even close. Let's knock out 2 giants back to back, Disney and Pixar. I'm separating these two because although they work very close to each other and are both owned by Disney, they have very different animation paths. Let's first look at the oldest animation studio, Disney. Walt Disney Animation Studios' first theatrical release was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This movie is still beloved today, being one of the best princesses, animated, and just movies all around. Disney would continue to release banger after banger after banger following the success of Snow White with Pinocchio, Fantasia, Bambi, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, and so many more. Sure, you have movies like Song of the South in there and other mediocre, pointless, racist movies stuck in between, but these other movies I've listed are classics. Disney set the bar incredibly high for any company wanting to enter this space, and that might be why they had such a monopoly on the animation industry for such a long time. They had absolutely fantastic movies up until 1999, when the dark age of Disney dawned on the world. Tarzan, although a commercial success, in my opinion is the worst Renaissance film, ended the musical concept from Disney and brought in a long drought from Disney. Some of you may be wondering how Tarzan ended the musical concept for Disney, and quite frankly, it comes down to one person, Phil Collins. I love his music as much as the next guy, and the music from this movie is great on its own, but makes literally no sense in the story. I don't want Phil Collins to sing to me what's happening on the screen. The narrator isn't the only person in Hamilton, Grease, Footloose, Hairspray, literally any musical is singing. The characters sing. Little Mermaid, the narrator doesn't sing the I Want song. Ariel does. Imagine how shitty it would be if the song was She Wants to Run and Play All Day, or It Be Your Conscience. Okay, I'm getting a little sidetracked. If you want to hear more about Tarzan's flaws, check out this video by Sideways. Okay, so Disney releases Tarzan and enters a new era. This brings in Dinosaur, Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis the Lost Empire, Treasure Planet, and sadly many more. Now, some of these are better than others, and Lilo and Stitch came out in that time frame, one of my favorites, but none of these movies are the same level as Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella. I mean, while Pixar was releasing The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Toy Story, Disney was releasing Brother Bear, Meet the Robinsons, and Chicken Little. Who would look at these groups and think, yeah, they're about equivalent in quality? It wasn't until 2009 where Disney finally seemed to resemble their former self and stopped looking like a shell of their former greatness. Sure, Princess and the Frog isn't the greatest movie ever, but Disney looked like Disney. They follow with Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen. They had reclaimed their former glory and seemed to be on an upward path, besides Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2. Disney is best at two things: having a long and fairly consistent good track record, and musical animated movies. They seem to struggle when they release a movie that doesn't have the main character break into song, and instead try to be a serious movie studio.
Am I really that fat?
Now, onto the other industry giant, Pixar. Pixar started in 1995 with an absolute killer of a movie, Toy Story. The studio came out of the gates strapped to a rocket. They did not stop there. They grew on the Toy Story franchise and released other amazing films like The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and so many more. They were at the top of the game as Disney was on a downward spiral, and Dreamworks was just starting. They were the king of animation for so long, releasing some of the greatest films of all time with Up, WALL-E, and Ratatouille. Now, did they have their duds? Yes. The Cars franchise just isn't good. But they have so many more memorable movies than Disney movies of the time. Pixar was best up to 2010. Toy Story 3 comes out and it's fantastic. But what follows is truly devastating. Pixar releases Cars 2, Brave, and Monsters University. These three movies in a row could not have been worse to follow such a strong track record. Sure, after they have Inside Out, Coco, Toy Story 4, but there are 5 other mediocre at best movies in that time frame as well. Pixar had such promise and made truly groundbreaking movies. Pixar is best at creating well-thought-out stories with complex characters and unique ideas. They struggle at sequels and recently just making worthwhile movies for the most part. They may not look to be making amazing movies right now, but if they went back to the Pixar that we all know and love, they would be one of the greatest movie studios of all time. They need to stop following Illumination's and Disney's footsteps because they aren't a mainstream lazy company. What they make has been cherished by millions for years, and hopefully for decades more.
Oh man, where do I begin? Well, first it was the time that old farmer tried to sell me for some magic beans.
Now we need to talk about the most confusing studio in my eyes, DreamWorks. DreamWorks is a relatively new studio after I won't mention his name because I've already said it in every video before this, made his own studio after leaving Disney. Now, Dreamworks started out pretty good with movies like Ants, The Prince of Egypt, and Shrek. They also had The Road to El Dorado, Sinbad, and a few other forgetful movies in there. But Dreamworks had some truly magnificent movies. Shrek has to be one of the best movies ever made, and was followed up by arguably one of the greatest sequels ever, Shrek 2. But even with Shrek 2 and some other movies, Dreamworks makes some of the worst movies ever made, like Shark Tale, Shrek the Third, the Bee Movie, and probably 28 others. I honestly don't understand Dreamworks. They make a masterpiece such as Megamind, and then they release a movie like Boss Baby. Are they going to be a serious studio who actually cares about their works like Pixar and Disney for the most of the time? Or are they going for uber commercialization like Illumination, undermining the very foundation of animation? Holy crap, that's a lot of rhymes. Dreamworks has had some of the greatest trilogies in cinematic history. Shrek, yes, 3 doesn't count. Kung Fu Panda, and How to Train Your Dragon. All 3 of these franchises are so intriguing to watch, and have thought and care put into them. Then they make Turbo. Like, how can the studio not understand how to replicate the greatness they have? DreamWorks absolutely dominates when it comes to franchise building. Pixar made Toy Story, but they also have Cars and other shitty sequels. When DreamWorks hits, they hit big. I love that they swing for the fences sometimes with their abstract ideas that pans out to 3 amazing movies, but they struggle with consistency. They seem to be afraid to take risks like they used to because they've reached a comfortable status. They're becoming more like Illumination, trying to make their movies as marketable as possible because they make a profit either way. This is so disheartening because so far every studio seems to be on a downward trajectory besides Disney, which is making somewhat of a resurgence. You thought that was the end? You thought I would leave Studio Ghibli out of the competition? Well, you're dead wrong. Before you skip forwards or click off, give me time to explain, because this studio has made some of my favorite movies of all time. Have I got your attention? Great. For those of you expecting for this to be on here, I don't need to sell you on this studio. This is so much more than an animation studio. This is, and I don't say this lightly, a life-altering experience. If you have never seen a Studio Ghibli film, stop what you're doing and seek out Spirited Away right now. This movie is the closest to perfect in my eyes. The world they create is truly magical. Every single picture is a piece of art. Every single character fits perfectly. Studio Ghibli sucks you into these magnificent, otherworldly settings and keeps you entranced with the sound design and flawless stories. Every single moment is perfect. I haven't even seen every Studio Ghibli film because I was an idiot up until about a month ago. But now, with no more than a handful already watched, I literally cannot wait to watch the next one. These movies are so hard to explain, but what I best internalize it is this. Pixar does great at the human aspect of movies. Every movie is watchable by adults because they can put themselves in that situation and learn a life lesson from it while connecting with the characters. Studio Ghibli, on the other hand, makes you feel like a kid again. The whimsy of something so unrealistic that only you could think of. The joy of feeling so free because you don't see something society deems it looks like. You see what you want to see. When you look at a cloud, you may see an elephant or a bird or a car. When a child sees a cloud, they see an empire in the sky, a spirit that makes trees grow during the night, or a bathhouse for the spirits. Studio Ghibli makes you feel like a child again, and dare the audience to dream bigger than they ever had. Studio Ghibli's only flaw over the movies I've seen is sometimes they forget to write their character arcs and focus more on the environment. This sometimes works, but other times we want to grow with the characters as we learn with them. Sure, this is a very minute thing. Spirited Away does a fantastic job at writing a perfect story, a perfect environment, and perfect characters. But other times there's movies like Castle in the Sky, which has out of this world building, but the characters don't really change. Not to say that Castle in the Sky is a bad movie by any mark, but just that it could have been another Spirited Away. But with that said, that's every single animation studio's strengths and weaknesses in my eyes. You don't need my validation to confirm what you believe is the best animation studio is. If you really like Illumination, great. That's your opinion, and some random person telling you otherwise shouldn't change that fact. In my opinion, my ranking would probably go something like this. I think Illumination is nothing compared to these other 4 studios, and the top 4 could easily be moved around if there's a movie that really moves me, but at the end of the day, they're just my opinions. And even what I believe is the strongest part of each studio may be what you think is the weakest. Each of these studios have become great at what they do, and I just hope they continue to make masterpieces like Spirited Away and Ratatouille, because these movies did one thing other movies couldn't do. They made me dream. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, do everything. I do really appreciate anything that you think I could improve, and I'll see you guys in the next one.